Welcome. Today we have a special treat for you. Keegan Smith is in the house, and we need you to stay tuned because it will unravel a lot of things that you are unaware of about how to make your life better physically, emotionally, and financially by this guy, and you will unravel a lot of nuggets throughout the podcast.
Awesome. So Keegan is the founder of Uncommon Success. Not only is he a world-traveled, internationally successful entrepreneur and athlete extraordinaire, but this dude is going to drop some bangers on you about how to make money online, how to build a personal brand from your unique story, and what it takes to really go the distance in the online space as an influencer, business owner, and leader of men, women, people who are inspired by what it is that you do. All right, so if you're interested in making a community, building a community, doing things kind of in the uncommon way, this video is going to be great for you guys, and I'm looking forward to what you guys learn from it.
So some of the things that he has already accomplished, he's literally traveled to over 50 different countries, speaks 3 different languages. His father was one of the top rugby coaches in all of Australia, and he has a 220-pound snatch, a 90-second handstand. You will follow this guy on Instagram. He is
crazy,
unbelievable feats of strength. You want to stay tuned to get all of the gems from this podcast, okay? Stick around and learn. Grow.
Let's go.
Peace. All right.
Boom, 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 boom.
We're here. Makeshift podcast, making it happen.
Cancun or Tulum? I don't even know.
We're in Cancun.
Alright. That's some bad tacos. So I'll be.
Sebastian's still hurting, but he's getting through it. We're still gonna make it happen because it's important information to be learned here.
We've all been there. It's part of the initiation of being in Mexico.
Yeah, I hear it's like tradition or something.
This is Sebastian's first time in Mexico.
It was, yeah.
That is why.
So I guess mandatory.
Yeah, too many fish tacos. Too many fish tacos.
Right.
Well, we are here today. We drove up from Playa del Carmen up to Cancun to meet with a very, very unique individual that I've been following for a while now, and I've been wanting to learn a little bit more about him because he lives an uncommon life, and I've always been intrigued by that. I've always been intrigued by the not normal way of doing things, and I think we can learn a lot from what he's got to tell us today. So if you want to give us a little bit of background, who you are, what you do, and kind of what's going on.
All right. Yeah, that's pretty much it at the foundation. Thanks, guys, for coming and visiting, making an effort to come up. Pretty early in life, I think from my earliest memories, I kind of had the feeling that something's not right and that people are missing like something important. From like 4 or 5 years old, I remember looking at the adults and just thinking like, there's something missing from the way that things are going on here. And that feeling has always been with me. And so, yeah, going through high school and stuff, I was like, there's no way I'm doing the 9 to 5 thing. There's no way I'm doing the mortgage thing. But I didn't know what the other options were. So when I finished university, I was like, I just got to get out of here. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to get out of here. So I came to Latin America and I wanted to just learn something else, learn another language, figure out how the world works a bit. I lived in London for a little bit before that. And so, yeah, that's always been the journey. And it took me kind of 10 more years after that to actually finally start to create something that I wanted to live and experience. But yeah, that's been the journey, man. It's just searching for a life worth living. And when I sort of got there, then I started to try and give a hand to other guys who know that it's not for them to live the common way as well.
Was it always were you always in the fitness background, or was it?
Yeah, so my father's a rugby coach in Australia.
Okay,
He's fairly well known. He coached for 30 years. My uncle is a rugby coach who's coached the England team, and my brother is also a coach. He works in England at the moment. So I grew up in that environment. I worked in professional rugby like straight out of university and like during that time. But I always had that feeling of like, it's a fishbowl. It's something that there's got to be more beyond this.
So even in the coaching, you thought it was like, okay, there's still kind of in the system a little bit, right?
The best thing that I can imagine, like within that kind of world, is to be in professional sports. At least in that place, like there is a time where you're meant to be at your best and you're meant to develop yourself. And for 90 minutes a week, there's an opportunity to express yourself maximally, and you're meant to prepare yourself. And like there's an environment of excellence, and you got to hold your own as a man, and you got to have presence and whatnot. But it's like within one little domain of like athleticism, and as long as you do okay in that little domain, doesn't matter if you don't know anything about money. Doesn't matter if you're an average person in other areas. Like there are a lot of professional athletes that are well rounded, but there's a lot who kind of just
most are, right?
And so that was the thing of like I was helping these guys win. Like we won a world championship, and I coached a team that was at the highest level. Couldn't have done anything more. I coached Sonny Bill Williams, who's sort of the LeBron James, or the most known player in rugby and rugby league in the world. I was working with him one-to-one personally. There was no further that I could go within that realm. And I was, my daughter was born, and I was just thinking about, well, what do I really want? Like, if I could create what I wanted, what would that be? And I kept asking myself that question, especially with my daughter arriving. I think it's a catalyst for a lot of people to consider, like, how am I living? What do I really want to create? And so I decided that I wanted to have 3 locations around the world where I could educate men in the things that I valued, which at the time was mostly like physical development, and that's what I knew is like how to get guys in shape to win world championships and do good stuff in sports. And so that was what I kept writing down, like that was my vision. And today you just asked me like how many places. It's like, oh, there's 3. Like
that's beautiful. Yeah.
But
and it's growing now.
And it seemed
right?
crazy at that time. I'd never had a business before. I didn't have like really any network. I had like a Twitter account, and I was working professional rugby. Like there was no way that I was going to have this international network at that stage. But
so what was the first thing that you did?
I quit.
Okay.
I quit the work with the rugby. You
You burned both, huh?
Yeah. So most of my 20s I was dirt poor. Like I slept on floors in Latin America. I hitchhiked. I lived on less than 10 grand a year for multiple years.
Wow.
And then I finally like started to realize myself, like at the end of that I was pretty broke and broken. Like I didn't meet the girl. I didn't buy the land. I had sort of bounced from thing to thing and didn't win. And then I worked in pro sport, and the teams kept winning, and I was like finding myself, like actualizing through seeing that success of like I can actually do something of value. But then I wanted to test, okay, well, can I do what I actually want to do rather than help these guys with their thing? And so that was, I quit. When I quit that, I got a deal where it was 200 grand a year. Like from being that dirt poor guy, when my daughter was going to be born, I still didn't really have much money because I'd only really worked 3 years, But I was like, I want to have a go at this. And so, I quit. We moved like 10 hours north of where we were in Sydney. We rented this bed and breakfast, 7-bedroom place. And we started signing guys up to a mentorship, a 12-month mentorship. And they could come in and have 4 days with me at this location and training camp. So that was the end of 2014.
So how often? So if they sign up for a 12-month mentorship?
Initially it was 1, and then it was like as many as you want within the 12 months.
Oh, okay.
It was a 10 grand program.
Okay.
And then most guys would come to 1 or 2, and some would come to more.
Keep accountable throughout the year?
Well, at that stage, like online business was such a shit show compared to what it is now. Like trying to build an app. I've had that many guys in building an app and just like wasted so much money, and the websites were so shit, and like everything was just so clunky. So to be honest, like the back end was terrible, but when we got together for those 4 days, like it was fireworks. Like they were good experiences of, like hard training, talking about what you want to do, like being around other men who want to go somewhere. I'm sure you've had that vibe.
That's a key factor I kind of want to talk about a little bit, because like when you started getting, even in the sports, right, you started getting some wins, you started getting some confidence, and then you're like, all right, well, I have some confidence and I'll try this thing on my own. And then you got reassured when you had the event. You're probably scared, right? You're like, man, I'm going to take a risk here, and now I'm going to have guys come and do I have what's capable to actually provide value to them for 4 days? And then when you did it, it was like magic, right?
It's a special feeling for sure. Like that's when you get that goosebumps kind of, oh, this is where I'm meant to be, this is what I'm meant to be doing. Like I would get it from time to time in the rugby world. Like some of those sessions in the gym were electric. Like we would be, everyone would be on fire. Like guys are hitting personal bests, the energy's super high, but I just knew it was like too limited in the domain. And what I was looking for was a role model, like someone who was wealthy, athletic, and still with their first wife. Like that was what I was looking for. I was looking for a role model like that because I was married, and like it's not the easiest thing either. Where you guys are at that journey. But to find someone who'd done those 3 things, like I literally couldn't find anyone at the time. I knew millionaires, I knew guys who were really good in the athletic realm. I had all the bunch of role models, but I couldn't really find anyone who had these same values. And
so you said, I want to create that person.
That's sort of what I've been wanting to become, and also trying to like find like-minded, men who value family and have those kind of values, as well as wanting to be athletic and make a lot of money. It's still not very easy to find. Not that many guys, they either make money and they don't really care that much about their health, or they care about their health but they hate money, and they're like, they don't realize they hate money, but they really hate money. They're like, I just need enough money so I can fit out my gym, and it's like, I don't really want to be associated with like that. That was who I worked with for a long time, and that's sort of. So this was a different brand, Real Movement Project. It was effectively the same ethos, but it was much more about like just open your gym, like be a really good coach, and then that's evolved into online training, and now it's evolved into like athletic business, where I want to work with people who want to have like $1 million a month type businesses. Like I want to work with guys who have some ambition,
For sure.
and are willing to back that up physically, to be the kind of guy who inspires other men through their physicality. But yeah, like want to actually go hard with money.
So now, obviously, where we're at now, for the people that don't know, you actually have built entire villages that kind of curate that experience, right? So can you give us a little bit of detail on the progress to that?
Yeah, so it's literally 12 months ago. My daughter's birthday is coming up, and it was on my daughter's birthday. We were driving around Montenegro. We hired a camper van because she likes camper vans. Like, okay, we'll go drive around in a camper van. Maybe and me, I didn't even organise where we were going to stay. We were just driving around. I'd go to turn around, and she's like, "Oh, go up the hill, Daddy." So we go up the hill, and we arrive to this place, and it's meant to be like a campsite, but it's just dirt. And we get there, and then the woman comes out, and she's waving. The two little girls come out waving, and the dogs come out, and their tails are wagging. And so we end up going, "Oh, we'll just go grab a coffee there, and meet these people." And my daughter could go to the toilet, and then that's ended up being like one of our village locations. So we're building there. There's guys from the network who are living there at the moment. We've built a gym. We've got a tiny house. We've got 2 caravans. It's 3 hectares, so it's quite a lot of land to develop. It's quite steep. So there's all these different zones on the property, and we just developed this little bit down the bottom.
So when you walked up there, you kind of just like, this seemed like...
It was cool, and then I met the traditional owner there of the land, and he's been in his family for 7 generations, and he's got this vision for the place. I was like, okay, we can partner on this, and we can do something. So building in Montenegro, from my perspective, like I want to partner with other people who want to execute different aspects of the project. Like I'm more of the creative type and visionary and like inspiring people, but the idea of actually managing the project day to day, like getting something built, is like my worst nightmare. So
different value set.
Yeah, you have to have different skills, and so like I've partnered with him with building that place, and it's coming along. There's people staying there, and it's getting better all the time, but it's far from a finished product. The Bali one is Nico. So Nico was, I think he started following me when he was about 16, and he saw like I was just breaking all the rules as far as training goes. So I was doing snatches and juggling and backflips, and he was like,
So if you don't follow him, we will tag him below. His Instagram page is insane. He does crazy strength. Like, he's extremely strong, so you need to follow. But anyways.
But yeah, so he was looking at my athletic stuff, and he's going like, this is cool. Like, I don't have to be a weightlifter, or I don't have to be a hand balancing guy. Like, I can just do whatever the fuck I want. And so he was a young kid at that time, super athletic. And he'd start following my stuff, and then he worked for me for a little while in 2018, and we sort of stayed in touch. And and then I wanted to build an app, and so he went and built an app. And he built it faster than me, better than me, and he has a nice app. And then he moved to Bali, and he like traveled the world. And it's like, he's following advice and suggestions of like how you become a well-rounded man, how you become a successful man. He kept doing the things. And then he saw I was building these villages. He's like, okay, I'll build a village. Now he's got this beautiful village in Bali. It's got like spa. So I don't know if you've seen his place.
I don't think I've seen this yet.
It's the Bali Time Chamber is the Instagram account for it. And his thing is the motion guy. He's like 115,000 followers. And he's got phenomenal physique, and this place that he's built in Bali, it's got 6 cabins. It's got a spa and sauna, big gym. And he's 26 or French kid.
And he lives there full time now? He runs it?
Yeah, he's living there, he's made it happen. So he's running his first event, and it's guys from Uncommon Success, from my program and from his network.
Are you going?
It's a 25-day thing.
Oh, 25 days. Wow.
So it's something that's difficult for most people to commit to. You got to go for 25
Which
days.
is the point.
The time chamber. It's like you're going to get a year's worth of work done and progress on yourself in 25 days. It's from the Dragon Ball Z concept.
Oh, okay.
I was outside of I didn't get it when he told me about it. I was like, that doesn't make sense to me, but people love it. It's like
interesting
the concept of condensed time. So that village is like the most polished one, and then the Vanuatu one is like halfway between Fiji and Australia. It's 2 hours off the coast of Australia. So it's good for people that that's where my business kind of started. That place has unlimited potential. It's like Dubai, but for people who love nature.
Where is it?
Vanuatu. It's like like the tax and business environment is
pretty good.
Is good, and there's all kinds of possibilities. Like everything is possible there. They have massive land opportunities. No one's ever died of starvation there. It's perfect for cattle, and like everything that I value is there. It's like a big blank canvas of opportunity. So we're building bungalows along the beach there. We've got 4 built. That's going to be the first 10. we've got another place, and we got like lots of things that are going on there. But what I've realized is that in the physical world, it takes a bit longer than the digital world to make shit happen.
To actually create something.
There's all kinds of challenges of like building logistics and like financing it all and stuff. Like there's
A lot
many
to it,
moving
right?
parts to it, but it's fun, and I'm glad that we're doing this because it's very different and unique to gyms. Like I kind of got sick of the gym model is just so limited, and if you don't have something really, really powerful, it's like a treadmill. It's like a little box that you put yourself in, and the guys can't travel and they can't really scale, and it's just, so this is a different model, and it's what I wished existed when I went taking adventures at 22. You know?
Okay.
I wish I could have gone to a place like this.
All right. So going back, I just want to I'm curious because in 2014 when you're like, all right, well I'm gonna just quit my job and start this crazy 12-month Airbnb or bed and breakfast type thing and have people come. How did you start getting awareness for what you were doing?
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Was it like early stage ads or like you guys were doing hand-to-hand combat? Like what was going on?
I was lucky that because I worked in professional sports there for 4 years, like guys were already kind of curious. Like it's like working in the NFL. If you're with the winning team and you kind of put some stuff out there, guys will have a look at it.
Reputation preceded
I was
you.
blogging. I blogged for many years. Like I kind of had the feeling that one day I needed to be able to publish some stuff. So I've been publishing. I had a YouTube. I had a blog. And I'd been playing around with different websites and Twitter and things like that. So I kind of had an audience.
Okay.
So you'd been brand building from an early stage even before you went independent. Like
Yeah.
basically,
Did you have that intention?
Sort of. Like I kind of always knew that wasn't going to be my thing, and I needed to have like something going on in the background that would give me a springboard. Was that
like why you were doing the blogs? That you kind of were just like investing like on the side, building an asset or a reputation, and then.
Kind of, but it's kind of as like a political crusade or public service as well. Like I was a very idealistic young man. Of like,
We all are, right?
we could do this a lot better, and I need to be the one to put it out. So I was blogging about just my adventures on the travels and stuff to start with, just ideas around
It's authentic, right?
economy and politics, and and then it became a bit more of like, okay, this is going to be about training and health. And but a funny thing happened with at the start of Instagram, like fairly early on in Instagram. I think I had like 3 posts up. And I put a post up of this athlete, the one who's like the LeBron James of rugby, Sonny Bill Williams. He was doing L-sits on the dip bars, and he's got like 10 pack. He's 110 kilos, like shredded. And I put this video up of him, and it gets 20,000 likes. It goes on the page and whatever. I think I got 20,000 followers like overnight.
Oh, really?
I think I had maybe 1,000 or something, and just went. And I'd been doing an account on Facebook and Twitter before that. But that was like really a boost. But it turns out like they were all like Brazilian girls, and they were wanting to watch him. So they all unsubscribed once they just kept seeing this bald dude popping up. I was like, what am I following this guy for? So they all unsubscribed at some point, but it was kind of a boost to get the brand going.
Get some eyeballs on you.
Yeah, I don't know if it helped or not. Like I kind of had like 10,000 on Facebook, and Facebook at that time was probably better.
Okay.
Did you experience like the perceived status benefit from having a bunch of numbers on the account a little bit, and then it tapers off? Because there's arguments about like I don't really recommend people buy followers because it's sort of a vanity metric, and like you yourself will know that it's inauthentic. But there is something to be said about even vanity metrics. Psychologically, people still perceive it differently. So even if it happened, and even if they're all Brazilian chicks, like you can kick some doors. But over time, it definitely does. It comes at a price too because you look inflated, right?
I didn't think about it much at the time, but it probably did help in some people's eyes.
So
especially early stage too, like early Instagram, like they don't really understand what's going on. Like there's definitely some.
You eventually transitioned kind of from those like 12-month memberships at that original bed and breakfast, right, to like an online training, correct? Or
so that model worked 2014 to 2016, 17.
Okay.
And I got up to, I think at the peak was maybe like 70 guys on the 10 grand a year program, which is
that's pretty good.
Good business from a dude who's used to sleeping on floors and just kicking around the world. So, but me being me, when I got to that point, I was like, okay, let's start a franchise. So I started I hired this guy and I started building this app, and like 7 of the gyms, because I helped over 100 gyms open, but they were all frustrated that they had to spend time on ClickFunnels and Facebook marketing, and I was like, let's just bring it under one banner, and then we'll be able to grow, and you won't have to worry about you can just be a coach, because all you want to do is coach. You don't really love business.
Back to the value sets, right? It's super important to own and understand where your intention is to thrive. and then give permission to other people who want to do the other stuff.
100%.
It's proper economy.
Yeah, but I didn't have the skills or the awareness to bring in people who I like the things that I wasn't good at.
Yeah.
They didn't come on that team, and so I brought this guy, and he didn't really know what I was trying to do. And then I realized like it was the first big loss that I'd had. I mean, in retrospect, like it's just a learning, but at the time it was a big kick in the nuts. And like I'd won with the rugby teams, you know, in France I'd won with the team for 2 years, and then in Australia I'd won with the team. We broke these records, and then this business had gone to like making more money than I could have imagined. And then I went for this next play, and it was like it just cost me a lot of money, and it just wasn't working, and I lost a couple of friends over it. I think I circled back with those guys eventually, but it was a few years of like, so that was pretty tough.
Yeah, you're not invincible, right? It's like,
Yeah.
all right,
And it took a while to build myself back up after that. Like I bought a house as well when our second child Manu was born. So like, okay, we should probably buy a place. Like we've been doing well in business, and so we bought a place and had the mortgage, and then we're renovating that place, and then we got stuck in the rat race, like stuck in the treadmill of like, we've got this big mortgage, we've got all these renovations that we're paying for. You know, we're in the Australian business system, which, you know, I'm not a huge fan of when you pay
A lot of tax.
70%
Yeah.
tax, and,
Yeah.
and then, you know, we weren't even allowed to put our boy in preschool because he wasn't taking the things that the government said he had to take, and it's like, you know, jam this. So I got to that position that it was like business wasn't actually going that well. I started another business through that time with exogenous ketones, a supplement.
Yeah.
That business blew up, and that kind of derailed me as well because I started having all this free money coming in from this other thing. So like, it's a wild journey when you start to get into business and what's possible. But
The awareness, right? Like if you're always sitting at zero, right, and you have no other opportunities, like you don't even know what's possible. The awareness, you know, allows you to go through some challenges, but now you have all those skills, all that information. They can't take that, right?
I have a question about that specifically because, like, you mentioned earlier, like, that there's this desire or this need, and you had this calling from within that there must have been something more. And I've felt that, Matt's felt that, many people like ourselves continue to talk about this feeling, but most of the time, the people who feel this way feel isolated, that they're this feeling like they're oddballs, that they're odd one out. And so you went on this like big path, this big journey. Like, who were you looking to, or how did you were you just totally taking shots in the dark? That like, there's got to be something. You must have been privy to something that gave you at least some confidence to keep going. You have like mentors or someone close, or were you like part of a community or a group at that time? Like,
I see my father work really hard. I see my brother work really hard.
in entrepreneurship or?
No, but they're coaches, so they're running organizations.
Okay.
It's not business minded, but like my father's managed hundreds of people,
Right,
you know, like it's his responsibility that all the other coaches do well. He built systems. Like my father didn't win the Super Bowl. That's like kind of the criticism of my father, because he worked in the game for 30 years. But what he did build was dynasties, like over and over again. He went into organizations that were terrible, and they became really strong organizations that held up for a decade after that. And they would win through all of through the juniors and through the reserves, and they would have good coaches. And there's more coaches that have come out of my family lineage than any other. Like, we are the big family in rugby league, who've birthed, you know, a whole way of looking at the game, statistics, and all this stuff. So my father really was.
Which
like
is
an
kind
innovator and
of that is entrepreneurial basically.
It
So
is.
you saw like the patterns, I guess. It's like, okay, you can go into an organization, you can put in place these certain things, and you can influence people to go towards goals, away from goals. You can facilitate success,
Yeah.
which directly relates to entrepreneurship. So
Yeah,
I
culturally.
can see that overlap. Yeah.
Culturally and everything. But not so much when it comes to money, because then when I actually got some money, it was like, what do I do with this?
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
a whole different
that had never
conversation.
been,
Yeah.
That had never been a conversation. That had never been, like, I saw sort of what they did with money, and you know, that wasn't something that my father grew up on a dairy farm. My grandparents were dairy farmers, so he would get up each morning and milk cows, and then he actually rode a horse to school at one stage. He would ride the horse, jump over the fence.
Back in
into
my
school.
day, you guys have it so
Literally.
easy.
Literally, that's where he grew up, and I would go visit my grandparents. It was beautiful where they lived, but they lived a tough life. My grandfather, at 14, he was managing the dairy Monday to Friday on his own. As a 14-year-old,
Wow.
he would get up, milk the cows, make sure the fences and everything were in place, milk the cows in the evening, go to bed. And that was as a 14-year-old. Like, were you ready for that at 14? Like,
Yeah, nowadays it's so interesting to see and like look out into the world today, like how it's. I'm not sure if this has something to do with like life expectancy being extended, but like people are maturing far later in life, in my perception, if at all.
By design, man, this is social conditioning.
Yeah.
It's like maturity comes at 30, 35. By the time you get to that,
Like barely.
your
even
best
to some
childbearing
degree.
years. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot who never really, I was blessed to have children. Like they kind of grew me up. It definitely encouraged me to become more of a man. And I mean, still, yeah, like the
How old are
journey-
you now for context, by the way?
40,
40? Okay, cool. And when did you have your first kid?
30.
30? Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
so on the way.
Yeah, that's a challenging time for a lot of people nowadays, especially. So I don't want to hold you too long. I know your time is very precious. I appreciate you even taking the time to sit with us at all. But I think people can gain a lot of insights into what you're doing, business-wise. Obviously, physically, emotionally, mentally. Like he's in phenomenal shape in all areas of his life. So this is a guy that he built the man that he wanted to look up to, right? And that's what you should do. Like we should all build the man that we look up to and become that person, right? Don't idolize anyone, right? We are here, we are humans, and the path that we are on is our own. But you can become the best version of yourself, and you can learn from people that have done it and take bits and pieces of their journey, implement them into your own life, and that
And
becomes
you can
your
profit from it too.
Yeah, you can profit. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with making money.
I had a question I think that would be valuable because a lot of the stuff that I personally talk about and Matt talks about as well is like owning your individuality and being an individual that people can look to in your respective area of expertise. And you mentioned early on that you had taken this approach where you were like breaking the rules and you were kind of the odd one, I guess you could say. And then I guess it was the kid, I can't remember his name, who now works in Bali. He saw that, and then it seemed like you kind of gave him permission to do it the weird way. Like, the reason I wanted to go on this is that now in the modern age, in the social media age, people are very challenged. Like, I look out in the world and they seem to be very challenged on how to own their individuality and how to be someone worth listening to or worth looking to, or even having the confidence in the fact that they have these variety of interests that don't necessarily always go together traditionally, and they feel like they have to go one way or the other, and it holds them back from actually being that person and giving other people permission to play that weird angle or to benefit or to profit from that weird angle. I was curious if you could speak a little bit on that and that value that it had for you.
Yeah, it's a good point. Like, because so many people want to put themselves in a box. Like, I get these DMs. I message the guys back now. They're DMing me of like, I want to do your reels or I want to be your copywriter. I'm like, bro, you're doing this wrong. Like, you got no idea what you're doing. Like, where did you get this bullshit from? Like, I message them back and they send me these scripts of, I don't know who they're getting it off, but it's such a generic, shitty way to go about getting business. I'm like, you send 1,000 of these, don't you? And you don't even book in one call. And they're like, yeah. and it's because they're not unique. They're not being authentic. The most authentic you're going to be is if you have something in the area of athletic that you're good at. Like I've seen you working hard on your boxing. That's a trademark. That's a signature. That's something that I know you buy. You've got that thing in athletic. You don't have to go and win a world title with that, but you're good at boxing now, and you've been on that journey and you've published the journey, right? Richer, what are you good at? I don't know that much of your story. I want to learn the more, and we just meet each other. But what are you passionate about in the richer area? Are you good at trading? Are you into copywriting? Are you into crypto? Are you doing NFT? But know something in the richer area and go as deep as you can in that. And smarter is the other area that we have. Be good at chess or languages or reading books or writing books or something. Have something, and by the time you've done those three things, you're very unique.
Mm-hmm.
And if you just run with that, like just the stuff that you like, you don't have to be anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Like choose something that in each of those areas and just be good at those things.
So own it, right? Put the crown on, and don't hold it back. And I'm sure in your position too, you see a lot of it. Like there's that feeling that they need to fit into a box prevents them from actually getting clear on who they really are. And we have our unique position in this game and in this world that we're designed perfectly to serve. Like our unique interests and our unique mix of values is exactly what we need to become and to achieve the things that we want in the game. It's like people have a hard time starting, and so I think seeing more examples of people who did it the weird way or who did it the non-traditional way and put fitness and business together, or the mindsets and the philosophies, and then building a world around it that people can follow and relate to. Because if we're interested in it, then someone else is bound to be too.
Right, and that's what we're here. We just want to give you permission. You have permission. Go try.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the weirder it is, the more likely you are to succeed.
Yeah.
The more it's like, oh, this is what my parents want me to do, or this is what some other guy's doing, it seems to be working for him. Like, the less likely it is going to be successful. So
It's got no soul. People like they do the path that they think they're supposed to, but then they don't show up in the way that magnetizes or that people perceive as charismatic because they're not really in it.
Yeah.
And so holding that back is actually robbing the public of that joy and that experience that we all actually feel inside. So I think it's super, super powerful.
And also remember, one of my favorite quotes is, I think Naval Harari said it, it's like, if you can get a degree that everyone else can get, why would it be worth anything? Right? So ponder on that. Give yourself permission. Thank our man for coming today. Go give him a follow. Hopefully,
Yeah,
you got some
where can
value
you find
from
you?
this.
Drop your stats.
Yeah, okay, fine.
pretty much, yeah, Keegan coach on pretty much everything. KEEGAN coach. It's
And then uncommon success,
Uncommon Success is the business side of it. Yeah.
the villages, and
If you drop a DM on either channel, anywhere, we'll get back to you. We want to find men like that are on this path. Like, that's my mission. I could have retired a few years ago, but this is what I love. Like, there's no fun in retirement. There's fun in building stuff that hasn't been built. So if you've got something that you want to build, if there's a fire inside you and you need to get around other men who are making that decision, then this is one of the options. Not the only one, but it's working pretty well. So
exactly. I think if that fired you up, go follow him. It should have. It fired me up.
Big banger.
All right, peace out, guys.
Peace out.